Generally speaking, I work on the links between plant genetic variation and ecosystem function, its consequences for global change, and I try to work at local and landscape scales, because I think that's where you get the best information regarding, understanding global change and what does it mean for how systems function. And so that's me. Why don't Casey, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Casey. I'm a senior in EEB here. I work in Liz's lab. So right now I'm working with Casey Coombs. We just happen to share a name. And we do like thermoregulatory research on zebra finches. So it's been really interesting kind of transitioning in this time of COVID and trying to keep research going. So it's definitely been unique. But I think that really opens like newcomers up too for the opportunity to learn EEB in a new light and in a new way.
Call somebody.
All right, Joe.
What? I didn't hear that.
You're in charge, and you chose not to put the slides, so you get to call the next person.
I was just having Casey call whoever was next. I can introduce it. John, go.
All right. My name's John. I am a EEB senior. I work with Joe and Jen and do a lot of I help some of the grad students in their lab. I also am starting an independent project of my own that deals with population level dynamics and future climate scenarios. And then I also do some work with conservation and reintroduction attempts with endangered species. How about we'll go to Liz? She looked like she was ready and rearing to go.
Yeah, I figured Casey might pass it to me, so that's why I put my hand up. So I'm Liz Derryberry. I'm a faculty member in EEB, and I work on bird behavior and evolution. And I've done that in a lot of different contexts, including from looking at environmental effects on communication behaviors. So things like how does temperature affect singing behavior, which is what Casey and Casey are working on, to looking at things like how does noise pollution affect song behavior. So this pandemic time of being quiet has been very useful for my work. One of the few silver linings. All the way to thinking like macroevolutionarily speaking, like how do bird songs vary within and across different species, and how does environment shape the evolution of those songs? So that's a little bit about me. And I'll pass it to.
Did you just pass to me? Okay. All right. So I'm Beth Schuessler. I'm a faculty member in EEB. I do work on undergraduate biology education. So I basically look at students, and preferentially for me, students in introductory biology classes and how they perceive the instruction environment, what sorts of instructor practices are making a difference with student attitude. I look a lot at student anxiety and how anxiety impacts student performance in classes and whether or not they're going to stay in the major. Sadly, high anxiety isn't good for staying in the major. And my grad students do a lot of work on grad students. It's very meta, but they really like to look at grad student success and perspectives. So that's what I do, a little different. It's like a Brady Bunch thing. I'm going to look down and see if Corey's down there. I'm going to pass to Corey.
I'm Corey. I am a senior as well. And I actually served Liz coffee for about a year and made her sandwiches at Caper. But I also am, I'm a student in Dr. Schilling's lab, and he does plant systematics. I'm currently working on a project which is studying Erythema triphyllum. It's an entire complex with several subspecies, and the whole point is to determine whether these subspecies are themselves individual species, because if they're individual species, they demand a little bit more conservation attention. And so his whole focus has turned plant systematics into conservation of these plants based on their phylogeny. So yeah, that's kind of my story. Guess you gotta pass it to someone. I'll pass it to Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Spitzer. Lauren, we met a couple of weeks ago, but I'm faculty here in EEB also, and I study the ecology and evolution of plant-soil linkages and feedbacks. And so I see how I'm interested in how plants talk to soils and how soils talk to plants and what that means for how plants can succeed in the global change. And so with climate and with invasive species and urbanization and things like that. So. Mike?
So I'm Mike Gilchrist. I'm also a faculty member in EEB, and I think I do mathematical and molecular evolution. So I try and think about how the processes of like protein translation and other aspects of translating genetic information, how natural selection shapes those sequences. And so I spend a lot of time trying to take ideas people have verbally and figure out how to formulate them mathematically, and then figure out how to evaluate those ideas or compare those ideas with the available data.
Great. So I'm gonna go ahead and share screen because we're recording this for other students who may not be here. So I'm gonna go ahead and have us do our slides, but in the place where it says breakout rooms and type things in chats, we'll just have conversations at that point. Okay. So let me do this. Oh, we're all the way to the end. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Great. Okay, take us away, Joe.
Well, we've already done introductions and that sort of thing. So why don't you hit us this second slide? Yeah. So EEB is it's a somewhere between a top 10 and a top 20 program in the country. So we're a strong, diverse department. We have 30 award-winning faculty. We have people from the National Academy of Science, which is the top of the heap in the department, as well as many rising stars from beginning faculty, mid-level career, and late career scientists. We have outstanding facilities depending upon what your interests are, and that's something you ought to be thinking about now. You've binned yourself now within EEB, which is great, and so we need to start thinking about questions that you're interested in, and irrespective of what those questions are that you're really keen on, we have facilities that can get you down the road, including herbaria, genomics facilities, quantitative facilities, supercomputers, and just faculty resources that that you can take, that mentoring programs, things that you can really take advantage of if you so wish. We are a relatively small faculty, so the student ratio to faculty ratio is really good, and you can, as you see right here, right, it's 5 to 1, and so you can get really good attention, and it just creates an environment where if you want to finish school as well as you can, that's a possibility. If you want to coast through, that's also a possibility. And so it's up to you to see how far you want to take it. And we invest in our undergraduates. 40% we're twice the national average here. And you'll hear that statistic again, but 40% of EEB undergraduates work in labs and ultimately present their work at, state, national, international meetings. Many of them result in publications. And so it's a place where you can also build your CV so that when you transition out of university and you start looking for those jobs, you're not doing it with, I've worked at McDonald's kind of things. You're saying I have national and international level experience in doing science. And so we try really hard to position you for success down the road. How that happens is up to you in many respects, but we do try very hard to see that happens. Next slide, please. We have strong core values in EEB, and I think this is across the board. It's across the division of biology, but in EEB as well. And those include equity, inclusion, and integrity. We really believe strongly in these three things. We have inclusive teaching to prepare you for success. We do foster a supportive environment for learning. Usually if you need mentoring or you need advice, there's someone there that you can go to. And if you're not trying to identify who those people are, that's on you. And you should be trying to figure out who they are. It's not difficult. Most faculty are readily available to have a conversation when and if you need that conversation. There are a lot of opportunities. As I've already said, there's one thing that is unique, and you'll hear more about it later on, but is unique to EEB within the Division of Biology, and I think we do it better than anybody else in the university. And that includes Haslam Business, as we provide professional development in a way to really help you think about how to get from A to B. What are the issues that you need to be thinking about? What are they called? How can you build those CV opportunities? And we do this through workshops on CV building, or workshops on undergraduate research, or classes on professional development. We have EEB mentoring programs. We have a lot going on in professional development, so there's a lot to take advantage of. And then there are a lot of opportunities for outreach within the community as well. And you can find out more about this in the Naturalist Club, which we'll also mention later on. So what do we do in ecology and evolutionary biology? Is this for me? All right, it is still for me, sorry. Again, it's a diverse faculty, and if you just take the introductions that you heard from the five of us, right? We've got genome evolution, we do behavior, we do taxonomy and systematics, global change biology, conservation, there's disease ecology, biology education, there's social evolution, and there's theoretical biology. And so irrespective of what your particular strengths are, there are opportunities for you to pursue whatever it is that you value doing and being, right? So you can become the person that you want to become in our program, and you can identify a pathway that helps you achieve that if you are so inclined. And so I just think it's a special place, actually, and we're still kind of under the radar in many respects, and so that makes it even cooler, actually. So yeah, so any questions about this so far?
I don't think so.
Well, good. Yeah.
I'm going to pull us off. And so why don't we just, for the seniors, what are the things that you wish you had known, at this stage in your career about EEB, or about, when you first declared the concentration? What are the things you know now that you wish you'd known?
Personally, I came into UT as an exploratory major, and I wasn't exactly sure what at all I wanted to do. So the one thing I really liked about UT as a whole was that it had so many opportunities. Now, once I finally discovered that I was interested in EEB, I also saw that these opportunities lay within the program as well, which is one thing that I really appreciate about UT as a school. The other thing is our faculty are very, very kind and willing to just talk to you. So be willing to reach out and just ask questions. Most of them will respond to you within a couple days. Even if you're not sure exactly what you're looking for or what you're wanting to do, just kind of tell them what you can, and they'll help you also form ideas and kind of synthesize or help you figure out what you're thinking even. The hardest thing is just really convincing yourself that it's okay to reach out to people. So go ahead and start early and just start asking questions, because we're used to asking questions. That's what we do here at EEB. So we love to answer things when we have the knowledge.
Yeah, I agree with Casey. I got into EEB after I actually learned about what kind of resources were available and how the kinds of professors that were in there. And whenever I officially declared EEB, it was very shortly after that that I got into research and into things outside of just like classes and things like that. And that's really what makes the major for me, is it makes, because I bounce around. I mean, I officially declared, I think, 6 or 7 different majors throughout my career, and I didn't start an EEB until about a year ago from now. And so I already had enough credits accumulated to be a second semester junior by the time I went into EEB. And so what really brought me in was the professors and the research behind it, and a lot of the support that they bring between like lab groups and meetings and things you can learn just by conversing with these people.
Yeah,
We're glad you found us, John.
I'm gonna have to echo him pretty much across the board, because I came in to UT as a transfer student, and I had already enough credit hours to make me a senior, and I was like, I can't switch majors now. I came in as forestry because I thought I really love plants, and then I realized it's not really exactly what I want to do. So I just randomly landed on EEB and thought, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I follow all these people who research plants on Instagram or whatever, and this seems like a good place to do stuff like they're doing. But little did I know that like there were so many opportunities to get into everything you want, and like I've never had a bad experience with a professor in the department ever. And I just think that take every opportunity that you can would be like the thing that I wish I'd known, because there are a ton, and some of them may not be for you, but like never hurts to try them. And like I forgot to mention that I'm also a curatorial technician at the herbarium, which is how I got half of my connections in the department. Was just like, oh, this professor comes into the herbarium sometimes, and I met them, and this professor has a connection to a grad student who works at the Missouri Botanical Garden, and I now know him, and I just have so many connections by just talking to everyone. And so yeah, I guess just like have those conversations and be present.
Yeah, that's great. Lauren, are there any questions that you have specifically at this point, or we've got more to talk about, but
Yeah, go ahead.
give you a chance to ask a question if you have anything.
I haven't thought of any yet, so.
No worries. Okay.
Okay, I think it's my turn. So I think a big question when you enter EEB is you may not know exactly what you want to do, but you want to know what you could do, right? If you go into that major, right? What kind of careers can I have? And I think that's kind of like this idea, Corey, right, of talking about forestry. Like, okay, I want to do plants, but what can I actually then do if I go through forestry versus if I work on plants through EEB, right? So what kind of career path? And so this list here shows some of the careers that you can do with an EEB major and that students that have come out of our program have done. So all the way from, sort of thinking about, ecology, sort of basic questions, to applied, so conservation, like how do we collect data in ways that can inform policy. We also have folks that go into being a veterinarian. So you don't just have to go through animal science if you're pre-vet, you can do that through EEB. You can also do a lot of pre-health, like going into medical school, going through EEB. We have a lot of people who also will do minors or will work through Vols Teach and get their teaching certificate and go be an educator. So there's a great program here, Vols Teach, where you can get a major in a STEM field, but also get your training certificate to teach in K through 12, or even to be an educator like us, to be a professor at a university. So sort of all different levels of education. As well as things like sustainability, right? So again, coming back around to applied. And this is a long list of sort of more specific types of positions that you could hold within those categories. So next slide. So what we did is we recently had a joint effort across the faculty to think about these different fields and sort of what foci, what our classes and our expertise specifically align with, so that students are coming in, because it's kind of a long list, but to have a more general set of 5 foci that we think students could be interested in. So for example, if you're more interested in big data or computational work, so computational math biology, or pre-professional health or conservation biology, that these are the 5 areas that we have the greatest strengths. And then these are the kinds of jobs that align with those, right, with those different foci. So for example, pre-professional could be from a dentist, a doctor, a nurse. Conservation biology can be anywhere from being in academia to working for a non-government organization, to things like the EPA, right? So lots of different types of positions that can come through aligning your courses and your decisions. And I think this is kind of what some of the seniors were just talking about, is that you can sample a bunch of different things, and it's good to try a bunch of different classes. But as you start to figure out where it is that you want to go, you can actually craft your course selection and your research independent studies to align with that foci, to sort of make your CV the strongest that you can for following that career path. So I'll take the next slide. So then here's those same foci aligned with those classes. So you can't read all of them right now, but the general takeaway should be that there's a lot of classes, right? And that those classes are lined up with these foci. And I think, so 2 things that's interesting about this is that EEB has developed a 5-year course plan, and that's on the website. So you can actually go to the website and say, okay, well, I'm doing my course map, I'm thinking out a couple semesters, I know I'm starting to focus in this foci, I want to start to think about, make some plans. When's the next time that we're going to offer, let's say, fungal diversity 420, right? And you can make sure it's in the semester that you need it and make your plans accordingly. This also kind of helps you think about, if you look at a big long list of alphabetized classes or numerically oriented classes, it's hard to think, well, which ones do I want to take? So this orientation helps you think a little bit more about, my interest is in evolutionary biology, so I want to be sure I hit 4 or 5 of these classes, right, that are in this suggested class list. I'll take the next slide. So this slide is just to emphasize that for students who are pre-professional, pre-health, but don't know exactly, what major to go to, right? A lot of times there's this thought that, well, I know I need to be biology, but then which concentration do I do? Like maybe it's better to go into microbiology for pre-health. And that's not actually the case. I think that the importance there is to concentrate in the area that's most exciting to you, right? So you can be pre-health, but be really excited about ecosystems, right? And you want to go towards EEB. Or you can be pre-health and really be excited about fungal interactions, and actually you could do EEB or microbiology. So this just goes to show that we do have this focus, and that we do have about 20% of our students that are EEB majors go on to pre-health and pre-professional. And so there's a number of classes listed here that show that. And our students on the left column shows what they sort of immediately do the year after. So you see a lot of our students go to grad school or to medical and dental. And then the right-hand column shows kind of where they end up long-term. And you could see that we really map strongly to science, the field of science, health, and education. So this is where we would normally have you type into the chat which classes that you've thought about that might be interesting. But maybe what we could do instead is have our seniors list 1 or 2 classes that they liked the most in EEB, and then give Lauren a chance to ask maybe some questions about classes that you might be thinking about for the spring. Casey, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So I don't know. I've always loved scheduling, just gonna be honest. Like planning my class schedule is one of my favorite things to do when it comes time for that. I know that's super, I'm a dork, whatever, I love it. It's my favorite thing because I get to see all the options and I get to like pick around and like kind of play around with it and see really everything that I have to offer. One of my favorite ones, and also one of the harder classes I have taken, is comparative vertebrate biology. It was just a lot of information, but I got really lucky to where I was interested in it. So because I was interested in it, I didn't mind spending a lot of time on it and memorizing everything I needed to memorize. I also am currently taking animal communication with Freeburg right now. And I really, really enjoy that. It's definitely a different way to look at communication between species. And it's just one of those classes I've been waiting for to come around. So that's another thing is like, even though this is you just starting out, and I know that you probably have certain requirements that you have to hit, look for classes where you can kind of branch out still. So like try and add something in there besides just that like core curriculum that you have to do, because then you can start trying now and you can be like, okay, well, I don't like that. And I know that now. And that helps you like stay the course as well. Finding out something you don't like is still finding out information about where you're going. So that's really important.
So I really like math and in data applications, and so one of the few different classes that I really I liked biostatistics, where you learn to do like modeling techniques and statistical processing for the data that you're collecting out in the field. And then I'm in a class right now that's called ecological niche modeling, where you use like geographic information systems to be able to make predictions on model accuracy. So I really like the technical side and the data side of the EEB major so far. But I also like, you know, some of the more conservation based or the more taxonomical based classes. Like I had a botany class over the summer that was a lot of fun, learning different different taxa of plants and things like that. I haven't exactly decided on what I like to concentrate in. I've always been a generalist in my entire life, and so I have my hands kind of in every little tiny thing that I possibly can if I have any interest in it, whatsoever.
Yeah, I just want to point out that it is not weird to like planning because I love doing that too. I spend a lot of days during the semester planning my schedule. But yeah, so I think I've got the one class that stood out the most to me was conservation biology, and I know his name, and I literally just blanked on it just now. But the professor who taught this class that I can't remember his name.
All Armstrong.
Armsworth.
Yes, thank you so much. He's amazing, and he's just you can tell that he knows what he's talking about very well, and he wants you to know it too, which I think is the case across the entire department. But I just remember this class being really fun for me because it did have tests in it, but it was a lot of like projects, and I really enjoyed that style because honestly tests kind of stress me out sometimes, and I just really enjoyed like being able to have a month to work on this project about something I cared about. And even some like they were local projects, like we had to do a conservation evaluation of Tennessee or something like that, and it was really cool, and like I got to learn a lot about being in Tennessee. And he just was really like motivational and pushed the students really hard, and I really enjoyed it. But also I've taken I'm now in the second class from Dr. Williams, who is like a plant anatomist, and I really like his classes. And he has a lot of information about like I'm learning about like fossil plants right now, and that's just super cool. And so yeah, those are kind of the two that stood out to me. But I also like biostatistics, and that's just been kind of another field that is interesting. I feel kind of like a generalist too sometimes, but yeah, you can't go wrong. But those are kind of the three that stood out to me.
Thanks for sharing, guys. And Lauren, are there any classes that you have questions about, since you've got seniors right here that might be able to answer them?
Yeah, I was really interested in all the classes that Casey was talking about. I'm like interested in animal behavior after like looking around at some like options that are available. So I guess just
I would just, as somebody who's gotten to kind of explore a lot, because I have sampled a lot of different things as well. Um, if you find a professor that you like and they teach multiple classes, I would also go that route where you're trying things that they're teaching. Because if you find also a professor that you really communicate well with, like Corey said, Armsworth is one of those that I have like started conversations with as well, and he's really good at continuing those conversations. If you take classes with them, they're going to help you learn more and also learn what you do like and where you can go with what you're doing. So just because you like animal behavior like I do doesn't mean that you're going to be taking strictly animal behavior classes, but like try to branch out into classes that teach you different ways of looking at like your subject area, because that's also going to help you see what type of approach you like when asking questions as well, because a lot of our research is asking questions, so you have to figure out how you want to ask those questions and go about answering them.
And I'm teaching animal behavior in the spring, so I'm going to plug that.
Okay.
If you're curious, 450 is in the spring, and you can take it. It's
I
full.
think it's full, so email her.
Yeah, so email me, and I'll let you. That's another thing often new students don't know is they see a full class and they think, oh, it's done. But I've been letting people off the wait list, left, right, and down.
Always send emails. That's my other advice. I have been waitlisted for classes and I've emailed so many professors and I've gotten in. So just email people.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
So this is me. So how does EEB prepare you for success? This should be a question you're wondering. I will hopefully answer it. So the idea of, in my opinion, the idea of EEB is gives you a very strong foundation to sort of branch out in a lot of different areas. And you're going to walk out of here being very well trained in not just in ecology and evolutionary biology, but just biology, I think, in general. So, you know, you have the same gen ed courses that everybody in the college has to take. You then have these biology core courses that are usually taking up your first couple years. And then the idea is then your last 2 years are going to be really focused on the EEB concentration, where you need to take 32 hours, okay? The main thing about the EEB concentration and the course requirements is we're a very quantitative department. So, and you know, sometimes I run into people when I teach genetics, they're like, well, I like science and I like, but I don't like math. So I decided to be a biologist, and, you know, biology has math, and you will be well trained in it. And once, you shouldn't be intimidated by it, because they're really just the classes, like the models in biology class, is just outstanding. Like everybody I've ever talked to who's taken that course has just thought it was great. And also our biostatistics course has just a really wonderful reputation. It not only gets you sort of trained in thinking statistically in a way that's different than if you had taken it in like a stats department, but also trains you, gives you some exposure to computer programming if you haven't had that. But in reality, all of our quantitative courses are good because they're being taught by just outstanding faculty. So we have this requirement that you need to take at least one of these courses in these groups, and then one other stats or math course. But don't let that put you off, because in reality, biology is becoming ever more quantitative. And then the remaining classes then are taken, they're upper division courses. You need to take at least 15 of those from EEB, but it also means you have a lot of flexibility. So if you do decide you want to learn a little bit more about forestry, you can go, and there's quite a number of forestry classes. There's geography classes, there's geology classes that sort of can all count towards your upper division course requirements. We also have an honors program in EEB, and that's really, if you really want to make the best of your time here. I mean, if you think about sort of your cost benefit functions, which I think a lot about, right? Becoming an EEB honors student is really, it's a fantastic opportunity to get a really deep training in the field. It requires you to do a research thesis, and then that's facilitated working with faculty and graduate students. And you need to achieve at least a B in all your upper division courses. There's GPA requirements. And then it requires 9 hours of honors coursework from a set of EEB courses advanced courses that are research oriented. And again, that sort of ties into that thesis. So the idea is that those last courses, a number of those are just related to trying to help you learn how to do research, because that's really what science is about. It's not, it's about understanding how to ask and answer questions using the tools available now. Okay, and so we also do a really nice job, and Jen and Liz are also heavily involved in this, but trying to also train you, thinking about not only laying that foundation of knowledge and these abilities to do research, but also to give you this broader training for professional development, or for when you leave here and you move on into your professional career. So we have this new course, EEB 205, Theory and Methods, and then we have these professional development courses that sort of focus on trying to understand things like what is graduate school, or what are your research opportunities, how do you sort of write these papers. I'm actually wondering why I'm talking about this, because Jen is the one who usually teaches this. And then these additional courses like the internship and independent study. Again, those are giving you opportunities to be exposed to different areas. So you can do an internship both within the department, but also outside of it. You know, one of the challenges it being an undergraduate is you don't really know what's out there in the world. So these give you opportunities to actually see what the real world outside of here looks like. And we have actually a fair number of professional and developmental workshops each year. They're open to everybody, but they're really geared towards our EEB students. So as an example, if you want to do the next slide. Well, I haven't done a next slide since I think I was like a graduate student, man. Like, so we have this workshop we do at least once a year, where we try and demystify graduate school. And you'll hear us talk about graduate school because that's what we do. We went to graduate school, but, you know, again, to emphasize, there's a lot of options besides going to graduate school, and graduate school is not for everybody. One of the really neat things about about our program, though, too, is we have a really nice mentoring program between undergrads and graduates, and that really, I think, speaks highly both for our graduate program and also is really an incredible resource for the undergrads. And we also have, you know, this is an ecology and evolutionary biology department, so we have a lot of courses that involve actually hands-on experiences. Some of those are actually on a computer and such, but a lot of them are actually field-based, so they're getting you out there into the world and actually like applying this knowledge that you've been developing in the great outdoors. And it's, I think, one of the really, students find it a really rewarding experience to actually go out and be like, oh my goodness, I can identify all these plants, right? Oh, that's how you go capture salamanders. Oh, excellent. And so we have an incredible range of resources here, and it's really up to the student to take advantage of those. But our students actually do a great job of that.
All right, this is my part. So I get to talk about undergraduate research. And this is just an example of some of the projects that some of our undergrads have done, I think primarily over the last couple years or so. So what does it actually mean to do undergraduate research? And I'll get our seniors involved in this in a second. It can be as little or as much as you kind of desire. So for some people, they might want to get exposed to undergraduate research. They don't have a ton of time. They might work in a lab for a year and maybe do 5 to 10 hours a week. And mostly it's like helping, you heard Casey talk about working with Casey. Often you might be paired with a grad student whose project you're then assisting with and helping out on. As kind of an entry into how do we do research, in EEB, all the way to people that then are moving into their own independent research projects. And I think Morgan down there at the bottom is a really great example of that, as somebody who accrued a lot of time doing research, came up with her own project idea, really worked fairly independently, and really kind of, she's actually a grad student now in the department, and so she's really progressed continuously. And so it can be everything from kind of guided work within a lab all the way to doing your own independent research, depending on kind of how you want to play it. But it is embedded within a particular lab with a particular advisor, faculty member, and so you kind of choose the research area that you want to go into. I think I'll go to the next slide. And I'm going to get heads up, seniors. I'm going to be pulling you into this here. So how do you get involved? And this is one of the things I teach Bio 100, and this is one of the common questions that students ask me a lot is, well, how do I do this? And as Mike just mentioned, there are tons of ways to get experience in research through courses, right? And so we traditionally think of that as like a course-based research experience, and it's a great way to figure out how to do research within the context of actually taking a course. But when a lot of people think about doing research, they think about it as outside of courses, like actually doing research independently. So how do you get involved in that? You really need to kind of go to the EEB website, go to the faculty pages, look about what types of research faculty are doing. You can actually, I always put fun in quotes when I say things like this. You can go to Google Scholar and you can, type in the faculty's names and you can actually look at the publications. You can look at the actual research that they are producing, which is really interesting because sometimes, what our profile says, when you go and you look at the publications, it's either like not at all what you expected or way more than you expected, and so it's kind of fun to check that out. Talk to TAs, all of your TAs in your classes, and this is something I wish I had known when I was an undergrad. I just really didn't get it, was that all of these TAs that are teaching you are graduate students doing research in a faculty member's lab, and they have enormous amounts of experience. And a lot of people get involved in research actually by talking to their TA and then working with that TA with their research. And so it's kind of cool. So how do you get involved? This is the scary part for a lot of undergrads, right? It involves having to typically ask, so you have to interface with a faculty member and you need to find out if there are openings in their lab. There are sometimes online opportunities, but I think traditionally in science, it typically works more that you email somebody or go talk to a faculty member. But I want to hear I'm going to call these your research origin stories. So I want to hear the research origin stories for Corey and for Casey and for John. Like, how did that happen when you got involved in research? Did you have to do the scary thing where you went and you asked personally to somebody? Did you email someone? How did that work?
Emails, and then some more emails. I would say at this point, I'm a professional emailer. That is my degree. No, I really was branching out and reaching out. The one thing I can reassure you is you don't just get no's back. If you get a response back from faculty, they are normally pointing you in a direction, which is awesome because half the time when you first send your first email, you don't really know what you're talking about anyway. At least that was my experience. I knew that I wanted to get in a lab and that I wanted to get my hands on some research. And I knew I liked animals, but I didn't know where I was going with that to start with. And then, of course, as I took some classes, I kind of got more direction. And then as I added some more into those emails, I got pointed towards Liz too. And then Liz and I had a meeting and it went really well. And then I got in her lab and here I am.
So Beth, I think you know exactly how I got into research.
I know
I was in Dr. Schuessler's Bio 150, and I was getting interested in doing research because that's really what solidified the major for me and helped me stay in the EEB major, just because I've never been that interested in classes specifically, but then utilizing the stuff you learn in classes outside of classes is really interesting to me. So the research is really what keeps me going. And so I asked her, she said, send her an email. So she pointed me in a couple directions. And I think I ended up sending an email to Dr. Schweitzer, and she reached back out and met with me. And so now I work with them in their lab, but I also applied for a paid position with another professor in the EEB department, Dr. Lepinen. And so I've been working on a project working with the Department of Defense for about a year now, doing like meta-analyses on reintroduction studies. And that's been really fun. But I have like a bunch of different little research projects that I do that I prioritize differently depending on where they're at. And learning from each of those, I think together has been more helpful than anything.
First of all, I just want to say sorry if my internet cuts out because it's kind of weird here, but I really strongly recommend talking with TAs because that's exactly how I got in. Was I was in a class and I was just talking with the TA about what I enjoy, what I like, and she was like, "Oh, you should definitely check out Dr. Schilling." And I was like, "Dr. Schilling? Like, I've been through the EB website. Like, he's probably the person that I wanted to like email last." And because I was like, plant systematics sounds so boring, and I emailed him and we sat down and talked, and I said, "This is exactly what I want to do." And I don't know how I missed this, but yeah, I think like that is kind of the bounds. Is like you can learn about a professor on the website, you can read their stuff, but then it's like the really like talking with people that actually helps you get in there. And I started talking to him, and I realized like this is like maybe not him, but like people in this field are like basically like the Indiana Jones of finding rare plants, and they like go out and find all these cool plants, and I just love that. And yeah, so really just talk with people, do a little bit of research, and just send that email. Like I've said before, the professors are awesome, and they will never make you feel stupid or turn you down or whatever. They'll point you somewhere.
Thank you all. I love hearing research origin stories. It's always fun. So yeah, we should go back. And I think that's a great point too, is just talking to people and talking to professors, because even if you're not necessarily wanting to do research with them, we know the people in our department and we can be like, oh, you're interested in this. Let me point you in this direction. And we know the people that typically take a lot of undergraduates and who work with undergrads a lot. And so it's easier for us to kind of point you in the right direction. I think, oh yeah. So this is kind of other things besides, research. You don't want to just take classes and do research because that can get a little, two-note, I guess. There's other things that you can do that are really important for your career. Things like internships. And Corey had mentioned an internship at the herbarium. They have an amazing internship program at the herbarium. And with levels, you can actually go up in levels there and get more and more, I don't know, plant authority. Somebody has to run the Twitter account, and their Twitter account is seriously good, and I'm sure Instagram is too, but I'm too old for Instagram. Lots of outreach opportunities. Darwin Day is a big thing for us in the department. And one of the really things that people tell me is most important that undergrads really value is we have grad students who mentor undergrads. And so you can actually pick up a graduate student mentor, and they are kind of like, the in-between stage between faculty and undergrads. They're a little more of age and, peer age to undergrads, and they know a lot about how to get through undergraduate and then how to branch into other careers. There's a naturalist club, which is awesome because you can just go out and do things in nature, which all of us need to do more of. A listserv, and there is a place, an undergraduate research expo, to present research. I just did that all backwards, which makes me laugh. This is the way my brain works right now. So the last slide is we sent out the mentoring map, and so we just wanted to kind of focus on kind of other things maybe that John and Corey and Casey have done besides just taking classes and research that have been really valuable to you, that maybe, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an EEB. I'm just a big proponent of, co-curriculars, doing things other than just your classwork and your research is important.
The biggest thing I can say that's just kind of helped me is getting to know the people in my classes. This is because you realize that you want to do something like work in a field of people that you get along with. And obviously there's always going to be some people that you don't get along with, but the more I got into my upper division classes, I realized that there were more people who thought and worked and cared about what I was doing the way I did. So although it can be hard, even if it's just hey, you guys want to go play some volleyball or something little, even just talking to people and getting them outside of just the school environment, you build a lot of connections with people that will help you study, that are going to be in your classes for years to come. And these are really, really important relationships. And then they know information that you don't know because they took different classes, and you know information they don't know, and you guys can collaborate. And honestly, it just helps build a better understanding of where you're going and where you want to be.
Yeah, I agree with Casey. Getting engrossed in your community really helps. Not only are you feel comfortable in like meetings and things like that whenever you know the people. The first time that I went to like a graduate student presentation with my lab that I work with, or our like weekly lab meetings, I felt way out of my league, way in deeper water than I wanted to be in. But the more you get to know everybody in those groups, the better you feel about being in, I guess, like communicating with all of them, and the more you'll learn from them, the more you'll be comfortable learning from them. And so once you find a group, I try and stick with it, and go, go to lab meetings, or go to these meetups, because sometimes we were planning like meetups outside at the park or something like that. But yeah, I fully agree with Casey.
Yeah, on top of that, I totally agree as well, because I've like had a friend that I've been in class with. I think I've had him in 10 classes now, and we just like hang out and just like that's just what we do. But um, I would I would say two things. First of all, go to the EB seminars on Fridays, because I really love going to those and just like hearing what people around the world and the nation are really doing in this field, and just you get to hear some really cool stuff, and that's part of the community. Is like you get to see who's in the department, what students are there, and so that's the first thing. But second would be find find an adjacent hobby. Like I part of the reason I love plants so much is because I go out and like hiking, and I bring a field guide with me, and I just look at for all the coolest plants I can find. And it just gets you primed for your classes, I think. And like I collect house plants, and I try to find the rarest ones I can. And just like find, if you love animal behavior, go hiking and see how animals behave. Like it just is I just feel like it's a good thing to like be present with it outside of just an exclusively academic setting as well.
All right, Jen, I think I'm going to let you take it home.
We're getting up to close to 5 o'clock, so I'll just keep these last two slides really, really quick, and then we can have any last minute comments of that folks might have. Okay, so we talked about this. So how do you get the most from EEB? Sorry, one more thing.
I have to duck out, but I was going to say bye to everybody. Sorry.
Thanks so much, Liz.
2 kids. Bye.
Okay, so just these, there are 2 things here. So the system is changing here at University of Tennessee and in the college. And so now that we have professional advisors, and so you now, from everyone who is from this fall onward, is going to have sort of 2 pieces to an advising team. And so you're going to have your a professional advisor, someone who is going to really help you think about how to stay on track in terms of UTRAC qualifications and requirements, thinking about gen ed petitions, helping you think about which courses you should take in which order, to make sure that you're getting through all your gen eds. But then you're also going to be assigned an EEB mentor. And so that mentor sort of picks up beyond just the curricular things, the specifics of advising, but they're going to be helping you think about specific EEB courses. They're going to be helping you think about career planning, what skills and qualifications you're going to need, what to be successful, to help you get into whatever career or graduate program that you're interested in. And they're going to help be able to point you towards internships, help point you towards different research that you can do, and all the other experiences that are EEB specific. And so for the way that it's going to work with these professional advisors is that there are 3 that are dedicated to biology, and then they're within the 3 concentrations within biology, then there's one that's specific to each person. And so Sally McCracken is going to be dedicated to EEB students who are declaring for that concentration, and so starting from this fall onward. And so she'll be doing all of your specific advising and for all of your whole courses. But then you'll also be assigned a mentor in EEB, and that person will be helping you with all of this career and talking about specific things. Both parties can clear your advising holds. And then ideally, and what we're doing lots of training on now, is to make sure that all the advisor and the mentor, they talk to one another, and so that they can make sure that you're getting, as a student, you're getting the best advice. And so they're recording notes from every meeting that they have. So from the specific courses all the way down to, the career and professional development advice. And so they're writing all those notes down so that they can know what you've talked about, what things that you have questions about, and that we can work together as a team to help you get to where you want to go. And so really work closely with both of these people. You're the faculty mentor as well as the academic advisor. And then we'd really encourage you guys to really use this mentoring map, and we'll take a look at it here in just a sec if we want. But it's really going to help guide your decisions on a year-by-year basis. What are the things that I should be doing? When should I be thinking about getting involved with research? When should I be thinking about an honors program? When should I be really getting involved in outreach and things like that? And so it gives you some good guidelines and suggestions there. And it also has some planning guides to help you think about your courses. If you have 4 semesters, how do you fit in, the courses that you're interested in taking into those 4 semesters. And then the other thing is to get involved, use the mentoring map to help you think about those biology in a box, or to think about Darwin Day. So you need to be proactive and sort of get started as soon as you can, just to really get involved with EEB. And I think the seniors have given you guys some good advice and some good suggestions about how to actually do that. Lauren, did you get a chance to look at the mentoring map? Should we pull it up and take a look at it?
Yeah, I've written down some of my courses.
Great.
I really focused on the evolutionary biology focus, because most of those classes seemed the most interesting to me. So it was like a lot of the animal behavior, and then the EEB 205 and the 311 for like professional development, and like getting on the right path to find like a good career choice.
Yeah, good.
And then let me see what other ones I wrote down. There we go. Okay. I had, let's see, comparative vertebrate class, which I think Casey also mentioned. And then I think that was everything that I had picked out for now. I'm struggling mostly with like when to take my courses, and like which semesters they would go in.
Yeah, so we were trying to figure out ways to help with this. And so there's on the EEB webpage, there's a 5-year course planning that shows you when courses are offered, so that because every class is not offered every semester, and some are not even offered every. Can you wait for just 1 second? Okay, just a few more minutes. And so so it can help you plan, when are those semesters. And then the other nice thing that's about to come online that you should keep an eye on, and I'll make sure that I send you the link when it comes out, is that we have Brian O'Meara in our department has developed a new app, which that can show you, okay, this is the foci that I'm interested in. These are the courses that I'm interested in. And then he's entered in all of the data from those, from that 5-year course plan. And so you can say, these are the courses that I'm interested in. These are, and this is, in general, which ones I'm going to hit. You push the button and it'll show you, these are the courses that are going to be offered for the next 4 semesters. And then you can help you plan, those things. And so that's not quite available yet, but that's going to be coming up really soon. And in the meantime, you can look at the, that 5-year course organization, and that can help you plan those things. But it is kind of tricky, and it's been trickier in the past, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible so that it is, you can plan those things. So any other questions or comments or other last minute suggestions that folks would like to offer?
I did have one more question.
Yeah, please.
So should I go ahead and set up an appointment with Sally, to just kind of like start making sure that I'm taking the right classes next semester and just like,
Yes. Yeah. Drop her.
okay.
Yeah. Drop her an email and just and set an advising appointment, and then she will, you know, point you towards and I think we've already set up, you know, your mentor, but we can, you know, work on those things too. And so, yeah, you'll want to talk to both of them, but yeah, drop Sally a line and she'll get you in and she'll start working through those details of the next couple of semesters for you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions that folks have? Thank you so much, Casey and John and Corey, for participating. Your advice is, once you hear that, you know, from someone who's living that experience right now, it just makes all the difference in the world. And so, thank you so much for sharing your time and your experiences and your great advice. And thanks to Joe and to Liz and to Mike and Beth for helping out with all this. It makes it really does take a village, you know, to help everybody out. And I think we have a great department here that does that really well. So. Thanks, everybody.
It's nice to meet you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Bye.